or whatever. Anyway, so I'm gonna go into character evaluation and why I view some characters highly, and then all of a sudden my view on characters just drops off a cliff. There's a very good reason for that. And the other is going to be talking about the Legend Materia, the moding process, and how valuable 4-star motes are, even though Legend Materia take 5-star, and just how to view the characters you have now and not to misspend. That's all. Oh god, please don't do that, Lemonade. I will ban you so fast. Alright. So first of all, I'm going to talk about characters and the tier list. This is a good place for me to start, is to bring up a tier list. We'll look at... What's a mage list look like? It's kind of saturated. We're going to go for something a little smaller. How about supports? Healers. No, that's not a good one. Alright, we'll do supports. Riku can be front or back. I believe she can use guns and blitz balls. Okay. So there's a thing that is used in professional sports that actually applies to a great many things that we do, because we're playing a resource management game, just as managers of sports teams are. And we're managing our resources, right? So we have to dedicate them to certain things, or unless we spread ourselves out too thin and we're not strong in any place. And the reason why my opinion of some characters just drops off a cliff after a certain point is because there's a metric known as being above replacement level. And it's more accurately just, I don't know, I guess more simply put, as if something is average, then it is bad. Because if it is average, then it is easily replaced. So if you have something that is average, then you could have just gotten that anywhere. So it's not really that valuable. And that's an important thing to realize, that Queen is not the only bad character here. Waka, Barrett, and Syd are also bad characters. Because just because they're average doesn't mean they're average in a useful way. It means that they're easily replaced by just about anything. And that's an important thing to realize in the way I talk about characters, because, I don't know, it's been said before that I say stuff sucks a lot, and that's why. Just because I say something sucks doesn't mean it can't be used or can't be useful. It means it's because I don't believe it's worth devoting a single thought to, because I could have just replaced that with some run-of-the-mill character, with anything, you know? And that's how I feel about usually C tier and below on these lists, and sometimes even B. When you have an expansive SNA like support does up here, it means that there's so many opportunities to get good things for supports that it isn't even worth thinking about most of the time going after stuff being below. Most of the time. There are differences, and that's what separates B from C in my eyes. C is, I don't give a shit about you. It really, this is a very, very sports heavy metric. In baseball, it's known as wins above replacement. It's when a player is a player having a good metric as far as wins above replacement is concerned means that they're a valuable player. But if they're at replacement level or lower, then I could pull somebody off of the market at any time and replace them, so they're not exactly valuable. B tier is different here because Irvin has a strong break. Yeah, I mean that's why I put these and why it defines them as B tier characters. Shulk is not developed, neither is Irvin, and neither is Saz. But they have good bursts, and if you have those good bursts, then they can be better than replacement level characters. And that's an important thing to realize when I evaluate banners every single week, and when we get to the Extreme Festival, is I'm going to dismiss a lot of stuff, and I have to, because we have limited resources to spend. So that means banners that are just, good, high Epsilon, aren't worth considering wins on the banner, because there are banners that are so good that they even push those characters off, which we're going to be seeing soon. At the minimum, there's some landmines on it, but the Cloud USB banner, some Extreme Fest banners, and the Celis BSB2 banner. With Celis BSB2, we have just 3 really high-tier characters in Celeste, Mog, and Realm dominating most of the banner, and it means that there's so little that's replacement level on it that it makes it a good banner. It just improves the quality outright. So that really is all I wanted to talk about on that. Is there anyone that has any questions on that or doesn't get it? Because I don't feel like I did that great of a job explaining it. Hey, Mike. Shulk's Super Soul Break must for me? No. It's neat. But Shulk is going to be a weird character for me, because I'm only probably going to use her in situations like when I need to break mind. I did not pull on the lucky draws. With all the USB and BFB buffs, I'm starting to not get what stacks and what doesn't. Well, it's really easy to know what stacks and what doesn't. It's just a matter of what stats they switch, or they change, they augment. So let's look at since we're in the area of 12, we'll look at Vaughn's Burst Soul Break Arc Blast. Reduces defense and magic minus 40% for 25 seconds. What does this stack with? Anything that doesn't augment or reduce or increase. They both work together. Anything that reduces both of these statistics together. Should be defense and magic. Doesn't matter what. The severity doesn't matter. Whether it's positive or negative. You could give a boss a defense and magic buff after applying this, and it would overwrite Vaughn's defense and magic reduction. So this also stacks with things that don't have those modifiers, which in his case would be his burst commands. He has a defense breakdown or armor breakdown on one command and magic breakdown on the other. They both stack with this because they modify different statistics. The reason why it's getting a little cloudy for some people is because there's things that disobey this now, and they're called unique statuses. The easiest way to figure this out would be to just use the Enlier spreadsheet. The game does such a bad job at competently describing effects with its texting game that you just need to use outside sources. So say you have something like where's the big Moogle at? Kate Sith's Burst Soul Break that is coming on the Cloud USB banner. Grants attack and defense plus 30% for 25 seconds. God, why did I use this one? I forget all the statuses that affect it. Here we go. Steiner's Trance grants attack and defense plus 30 or 25%. This is the exact same modifiers as what Kate Sith's Burst Soul Break did. It did attack and defense plus 30%. Remember, the severity doesn't matter. So normally, these wouldn't stack, but there are things with unique statuses. And unique statuses only don't stack with themselves. Oh yeah, that is a good one. Oathsworn Espada. Because that one occurs on... I'll go and look at it now. Ingus's Burst gives him a unique status, and you'll see it right here on Unleers. It is not stated that this is plus 20 or 30% attack and defense. This is Oathsworn Espada, a unique status. So this will stack with anything that says attack and defense. Each value of Radiant Shield is a unique ID. This is... like, I believe this is strictly for Seifer. So it's not like you could get these anyway. Lingering Torment of Syd, Final Fantasy 13 BSB Command 2. Yes, that is a unique status. Rains. Metamorphose, second command, grants Lingering Spirit to the user. This is a plus magic and minus resistance buff and debuff. But it will stack with anything that grants magic and resistance buff or debuff. The most prominent would probably be Rafa's. Rafa's Burst Soul Break gives magic and resistance plus 30% to all allies. It's the same modifier, but it will stack because Rains' command is a unique status called, when we call it Lingering Torment. No, other Radiant Shields, that's another thing you can look at here. Now that's actually a good point, Electron. Well, normally when something can't stack with something else on the unique status list, not stack, but be exclusive because they'll knock each other off, it'll be noted here. Like poison, for instance. Poison has an exclusive status trait where it cannot be present on someone if they get something, one of these casted on them, which would be low, medium, or high regen or sap. If you sap something that is poisoned, poison will be removed and sap will replace it. And same with regen, medium regen, and low regen. That's why it's generally considered that the regens cure poison or they cure sap. Did I ever figure out if Noctis' barriers stack? No, I have not. It says it is not exclusive. So initially I would say, okay, that would probably stack with Stone Skin 100%. But, that's a weird one, so I can't say. Kind of like how haste counters slow. Yes. That also will be noted here. Haste, exclusive status, slow. Slow, exclusive status, haste. This is a weird one that not many people know about, but it's not that, prominent. Any retaliate is exclusive to stop, so, if someone gets stopped, their retaliate is removed. And same with sleep. It's not that it doesn't work while sleep is on, and if you wake them up, they still have retaliate. They don't. The retaliate was removed when they got slept. What is eye power? That is a great question. It is exclusive away from blind, so eye power. Defense and resistance to plus 200%, taunt single target black physical and white attacks. Oh, I don't know. Maybe some veterans remember this one. And it's a boss ability, Ormi, the Final Fantasy X2 boss. Wow, we haven't had that one in a while. You remember him? He's the fat guy with the shields, the LeBlanc's crew. Holy shit, this is such an obscure status. It's a status, so it belongs in the database. Yep, they also list boss statuses. This is a very interesting page if anyone wants to get really deep. Some of the statuses in here are kind of interesting just to go look at. Terra's USB. Cast speed times 2. If only you had a cool burst to use it with. However, Chain Faraga does work quite well. Yep. Yeah, I remember that. That was a fun fight. Like, I'm glad that we came upon that. Like, I really liked that fight. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about would be Legend Materia emoting and characters that are good targets for investing in. And there aren't many. The list is growing, though. It's definitely the next section of, MC3. Like, just giving us personal character growth paths to go down. Not just Cloud. Cloud with his USB. Cloud without his USB. His Burst Soul Break 2 is good, but yeah, he totally needs his USB to be S tier. So what I did is I made a list of all of the S tier characters. If anyone wants me to take a look at a non-S tier character that I didn't have listed on S tier on the list that we made, just let me know and I'll add them. But for now, I'm just going to go over those ones. And the options for growth on these characters, because some of them grow differently because of the differences between Legend Materia by moding and Legend Materia by relics. There are different categories because some characters, their Legend Materia by moding aren't that great, so you don't have to devote motes to them in order to grow them, but you do have to roll on their banners to get their LMR. And vice versa. There are some where their LMR isn't the best thing. Remember, each character will only be able to use 2 Legend Materia, so because everyone has access to, well, not everyone, but anyone who's had an LMR show up has their 2 from moding, in Mimu's case, and 1 from LMR. But if their LMR isn't that good, then that means you don't even have to gotcha them. You can just mote them and get the best thing that they have available. And that's why I made this list. So first off, we have we'll start light, and the LMR only list it's the very smallest list there are, and there are only 2 characters on it, who I believe are at as good as that they can be, and only get small improvements with their Legend Materia through motes, and that would be Realm and Uris. This, her element 2, reduces damage taken by fire, ice, lightning, earth, wind, water, holy, dark, and poison attacks by 15%. This is... I originally thought this was a very good Legend Materia, but I have since come to believe that it is not. this is exclusive for resistances. So, what I mean by that is, anyway, elemental resistance accessories will overwrite these. It is omni-resist, but elemental resistance overwrite these, so they do not stack. So if you're against a boss that does fire, ice, and lightning damage, and you throw a Gigas Armlet on her, she will only have moderate resistance to those 3 elements. Can you only equip... Yes. Characters' Legend Materia are only equipable by that character. So this is only useful for a boss that you want to resist against statuses and want this 15% reduction. And say Realm. She's a great target for silence. If you want to really remove Realm's capability to do anything, silence her. So a boss that does statuses and elements, you generally want to throw silence resistance on her and just suck the element damage and, take it. Realm, in this instance, can at least take 15% reduced damage. This is, I believe, minor resistance accessories are a 10% reduction, while this is a pseudo accessory on her for 15% reduction. It is not stacking, and that's my issue with it, because at any time that you would use a elemental resistance accessory, then this becomes far less useful than it sounds. And we have white abilities restore 15% more HP. This is a good Legend Materia, but it's not necessary for Realm to be the character that she is. It's just a little bonus. And I actually kind of feel that same way about this too, but I needed to place her somewhere. I don't believe Realm needs any of her Legend Materia to be any good at all. All 3 of these are not, super awesome. They're just nice, kind of cool and rare, and when it does work, it's going to be pretty awesome when it does. But Realm is a cool character in that you don't actually have to invest in her through this method. You just need her relics, which I guess is a pretty big cost. However, her Legend Materia relic and USB, one of her awesome things on the Celeste 2 banner, they do appear together, so that's nice. Realm is not a character that you need to invest motes in for her to be as good as she is. And that's what I'm trying to get out here. Uris is next, and she is definitely different. Uris, her LMR, that will come on the first Final Fantasy 15 banner, is a 25% chance to dual cast white magic abilities, and that is awesome. You want that. But again, this is not that great. This is definitely much less useful than Realms. And this is probably another 15% more HP, which is nice, but not necessary. You really just, in order to make her the healer that she can be, you really just want this LMR, which means you don't have to invest 4-star motes in Uris if you don't want to. You probably will anyway, but it's worth noting that you don't have to. There's 2 Go-Go's, one from 5 and 6, and they added them both to the game. So that gets rid of my LMR. 25% stacks with dual cast RMs? Yes, it does. So that's the only 2 characters I put in the LMR category. I'm gonna go down, sure. Let's do S tier mages. I guess that's probably a better way to go about this. So Vincent comes in at position 1. And Vincent showed up on my dive plus LMR section, which means he requires the motes and he requires his LMR. Yeah, and remember when we went over Vincent, we understood that he actually has one of the better trance modes in Gallian Beast that just gives him a 20% stat boost across the board. And I believe it also increases his cast times as well. Not Soul Breaks. Status. Galleon Beast. 20% stat boost across the board except for speed, and cast speed times 2. Very, very good trance status. So that is his LM2, which is unlockable through motes, and you want that. And his LMR is 25% chance to dual cast fire abilities. Obviously, you want that. So Vincent is one of the more heavily... one of the more characters that you need to invest in heavily in order for him to get there. Is it worth diving Realm in Uris, though, for the heal boost? Yes, probably. It's more... I guess the point of the discussion is if you have to choose between one or the other, then Realm or Uris would be a low priority. But if you're able to dive them and you don't mind spending the motes on them, then yeah, they're fine because they do improve his characters with the Legend Materia dive. Does his model change to a beast? Yes, it does. Pretty cool. If you give me a moment, I can go and find the sprite list. I've gotten pretty good at this so far. From trying to get the sprites to add to the tier list and stuff. That it shouldn't take me too long. Here we go. It's kind of a mess, and it's kind of like Kamari on crack, but he does turn into a beast for his trance. And Trance Terra does actually trance, I believe. So that's Vincent. He's a character you're going to need to heavily invest in, but he pays off. Does he stay that way the whole fight? No, I believe it's a 25-second duration on the trance. And it can only proc once per fight. So he would need to drop below 20% health, and then he gets refilled to full, and then for 25 seconds he stays in Galleon Beast and goes super mode. Yeah, it's weird. I guess she didn't have a trance in Final Fantasy IX, huh? I guess that's why they didn't give her one. But they gave her a 35% chance to dual cast Knight instead, so okay. Oh, she does trance? I thought that was Steiner that tranced. Because he wants to protect his bay. Okay, next. We have Fusion. I have Fusion listed under the LM Dive only list. Because I think Attach Wind is fine, but I think the best two Legend Materia that Fusion has are available through moding. So in order for Fusion to be as good as she can be, you do not need her LMR to get there. Though it is cool and will be useful sometimes, especially for Full Throttle and Torment. No, not Torment, just Full Throttle. I'm so happy to be able to finally say that they're not linked. This is just a Full Throttle thing, because you start out the fight with 3 bars of Soul Break, so being able to attach Wind immediately allows her to do some much cooler things. But in most other situations, I like our first 2 Legend Materia better. So this is just a mixed blessing, because if you haven't gone as full on Fusion as I did, or didn't get lucky and get her BSB the first time, you're probably planning on pulling on the Fusion OSB banner, which has her OSB, her BSB, and her LMR. So it's not like I can help you out there and say, okay, pull for Fusion somewhere else, her LMR isn't needed. However, if you do pull on the Fusion banner and don't get her LMR, I wouldn't be too broken up about it. You don't need this, and you can stop pulling, and you'd be fine with that because you have 2 great Legend Materia that you get through moding her. Yes, the Quick Cast LM does look nice. Does her dagger return? It absolutely will not return on a normal Realm banner. However, Japan has started with themed banners on plus elemental damage items, and they are allowing older soul breaks onto the banners. So if there ever is a plus wind banner, then Fusion's Relic will be on it. Syd Rains is next. Syd Rains also shows up on the same list, which would be the LM dive only. Why? Because I believe the best 2 things that he has for him, easily the 35% chance to dual cast Holy and Dark, is his best Legend Materia, and that's obtained through moding. And then there's duration of stat buffs by 30% and black attacks by 10%. I prefer the black attacks by increase by 10% over stat buffs, because with the way Syd Rains works is he has an instacast command, which means he generates Soul Break a lot faster than most people do. And that allows him to generally recast his Soul Break before the end of his stat buff is done. So that means you don't need the increased duration. The increased duration actually just doesn't help you in those situations. While the 10% more damage absolutely will in all situations. And that's why I prefer his dive over his LMR. So do not worry about getting his LMR in the Lightning USB banner, because you dive him and you've got it good. Next on the list we have Papalymo. Papalymo also shows up on LM Dive only. We have increased fire damage 10%. Again, a 35% chance to dual cast. That's our key. And same situation as Fusion. Attach fire at the beginning of the battle is nice. But this is going to generally be more useful. The attach fire at the beginning of the fight is pretty much full throttle. And, you know, I think I probably ditched on these a bit much. Because I think in Papalymo's case, because he doesn't have support 4 like the other 2 do, then Papalymo starts out the battle with Mako Might or Dr. Mark's Teachings. Or he gets entrusted quickly with a Wrath, and Trust. So having attached fire for the start of a fight in, say, Magicite for instance, where you're trying to beat a 30-second timer in order to complete the mission to get the extra orbs, I think the attached fire might be useful after all. You know that this is always going to be good. Where this is going to be good only some of the time. So just take that into consideration. Though I am willing to bet that having these attached fires at the start of fights are really nice for speed clearing. Okay, next on the list. We have Alphino. I don't believe Alphino has Legend Materia. You're right. His BSB does give attached fire, but attached fire makes it so your opener does 80% more damage. Very relevant. Very relevant. So having that at the start of the fight will make it so the opener for it does a heck of a lot more damage. So Alphino does not have Legend Materia. The only thing you need to get to do to make Alphino a good character is get his Burst Soul Break. And his Super Soul Break. I'd say that plays into it too, because his Super Soul Break is pretty much disgusting for Full Throttle and Torment. That attack magic buff plus Radiant Shields just adds so much extra damage to your party. Is Alf worth full diving for access to white and black 5? Black 5... You know, I have him dive for black 5, but I kind of regret it. I may not eventually, because he will get Legend Materia, and the Legend Materia will probably be good. But right now, I do regret opening Alphino's black 5, because I don't use it. His white 5 may be more useful. I mean, his black 5 gives him the ability to use, obviously, Black Mage 5 abilities or Meltdown. And Meltdown's not even that good, because Meltdown is more Earth and Fire. Yeah, I have two. I just, I think I could have worked around using those in any situation, and it would have been just as good. I don't really like Meltdown on Alphino, because it's only 3-hit. It's a powerful 3-hit, but it's not as powerful as his first command when hitting Wind because of the Instacast proc on it. It's more for... even Tiamat isn't that great on Alphino unless you're facing Area of Effect. Yeah, but you don't need to full emote to get the damage boost. I'm talking about the last slot. I think one day I will like to White Mage 5 him because I think having Curada on him is nice. Or the ability to Ultra Cure. Well, some 6-star abilities are good. It's just Alphino's Burst, like, is just amazing. But both Tiamat and Meltdown can't contend with his first command for single target damage. So that kind of makes Meltdown a not great ability for him. You can always Ether it if you want. And, you know, that's nice. But Tiamat is actually fine for Area of Effect. Him being able to use Tiamat and Valley Garmanda is awesome. Yeah, I love how it, you know, them being how that make him so effective at Area of Effect damage is nice and plays in the fact that he's a good summoner. Yeah, I mean that makes sense, Strider. That he's a character you use regularly, so you want to emote him. But I'm not speaking on those terms. I'm speaking on, do you need to spend these emotes? No, you don't. Do they make him an exceptionally better character if you spend him? No, they don't. Neo Bahamut does get a buff. That is true. I still prefer Valley Garmanda over Neo Bahamut, but it's a thing. Okay, next on the list we have Rafa. Rafa... Where's Rafa? She appears on the heavy list. Because you want her 35% chance to dual cast lightning abilities for LM2, and her LMR is a percent chance to quick cast 1 to the user after using a lightning attack. These are disgusting with each other. That is an awesome duo of Legend Materia. And unfortunately, that's LMR, and that's Legend Materia. So be ready to spend those motes and spend that Mithril on the Rafa Malik banner. But yeah, I mean, this is... Rafa gets a really nice set of Legend Materia. Wow. And that's it for our S tier mages. So, moving on. Her LM does come LMLE dual banner. Very good. It's a very good banner. And that helps. That totally helps. Knowing that the LMR that you're going to have to pull on to make her well, you don't have to, but you would like to pull on to make her as good as Rafa can be, is available on a great banner, so you don't mind pulling it. Surrounded by many, many good things, including Rafa and Malik USBs, BSBs, and Malil Dual BSBs. It's just a all-around good banner. Let's do support next. We have Ferris, Mog, Setzer, and Riku. Ferris is first, and Ferris shows up on the heavy list. Because duration of stat debuffs by 40% is an awesome, awesome legend materia for Ferris. Because she has such a wide array of debuffs that being able to extend their duration means she can put on more. Yes, the LMR relics are 1%ers, just like Bristle Break Plus. So when you said LM only for Syd Rains, are you saying that only his moding LM is worth it? Not so strong of terms, because his LMR isn't bad, but I do believe his best two are the ones that you get by moding. So if you don't want to go after his LMR and still make him good, that's not required. And that's the point of the whole discussion is, in this case, save Mithril. Yes, the 40% stat debuff duration is very, very nice. Support abilities plus 15% damage, not as good than this one, which increases damage dealt by 3, 6, 9, 12, 20% if a certain number of the target stats are lowered. If you're using Ferris, you're likely... Hold on. I want to check something. Because her USB 2 is likely what, puts her over the edge from, anywhere from S to S plus for people. And I want to see which stats exactly the USB 2 breaks. Okay. This is awesome. Her USB 2 breaks Attack, Magic, and Mind. Mind is usually the number 5, because you usually always have full break. So if you're using Ferris's USB 2 and full break, that is all 5 stats that are broken. And that is awesome for her legend materia, because that increases damage dealt to 20%, because that will mean all 5 of the target stats are lowered. And this is better than support abilities, because soul breaks don't count as don't have ability schools attached to them. So this will only count for using actual support abilities or her burst commands, while this applies to even her USB casts, or all of her soul break casts will be affected by this. So these are the two legend materia you're looking for. This is her LMR, and this is her legend materia 2, which is opened by moding. So, heavy investment, but, I mean, she's Ferris. She's worth it. We have Mog up next. And Mog shows up on the Dive plus LMR. Really like this ability. This is really cool. Mog is going to generally, outside of Magicite, be a dancer for you, in addition to his burst commands. And I guess you don't need this, depending on how you plan on using Mog. I would use him as a dancer, as well as probably a single target support in mages where I use a mage, or fights where I use a mage team, because of Mog's burst soul break and the awesome buff that it gives. But this is a really cool legend materia, the only one of its kind, where it gives them the ability to use a Medica command. This is a group heal at potency 25, which is the same as the command 2 of any healer. So whenever you use a dancer ability, he just gets the ability to free heal the party. Really, really cool. And I believe that the duration of his stat buffs by 30% is probably his best beyond that, because he's not that great of a white mage. He does have the instant cast Kiraga, I believe, on his first command on his burst, but that's not really affected all that much by this. It does affect this, I guess, but that's so rare that, not really looking for that. This is something that will help him at all times if you have his burst soul break. Although, yes, it does, Billow. So I would say that these are his most valuable Legend Materia, meaning that when the LM3 and the LM2 or 1 are the best, that means he needs both his LMR and his Legend Materia. However, Mog's LMR is in a weird position, where, like I said when I was evaluating the final, coming to the conclusion on the support banner, is that Mog may not even be an S tier support for global, because Mog's banner may never come. He's always going to be at least A, and he's always going to be awesome because of that incredible burst soul break that he has. However, we may not get the event that has his USB and his LMR on it, and that just sucks, because I love Mog. I think Mog's an awesome character, and not that I don't think we are not going to get them, I just don't know if we're going to get them on time, because it's been shown in the past that DNA did not treat the last event that was tied to the same thing very well. So next we have Setzer, high idea. His USB may not come, and if it does come, it's probably going to be delayed. If his USB, if the Mog banner comes on time, I will be sincerely surprised and thankful. Setzer's next, and he's definitely a strong Legend Materia character. Duration of stat debuffs by 30%. With Setzer being the stat debuff god, that makes this a must-get, and the 30% chance to cast an ability that breaks 3 stats by 30% is part of what makes him a debuff god. These two work together immaculately, and that would be another situation of LM2 plus LM3, so Setzer's, he's in it. If you want to go deep on Setzer, prepare to go on that Setzer Shado banner. Also, just a good banner, so that's cool. Support abilities deal 15% more damage. Again, just not that valuable. The majority of damage from supports comes from their soul breaks, because support abilities are notoriously weak. And last on the support list, the odd man out on the support list because she's there because of her incredible utility as well as being a competent support is Riku. And Riku, thankfully, someone finally doesn't show up on the banner that requires both. I have listed as a Legend Materia character. Why? Because she's actually not that good when it comes to Legend Materia. Her LMR is weird. That it gives her a 35% chance to quick cast 1 after using a machinist ability. This is not terribly useful because it only works with her burst soul break, and her burst soul break commands aren't like that special or anything. So you're going to be using her machinist abilities, but you're also going to be possibly primary using her abilities, and then just recasting the burst soul break for that Imperil Water. Her machinist abilities on her burst soul break are only okay. She does Imperil Water with her burst, so using machinist abilities outside that, with we have Tempest Snipe. We're going to get a Lightning Imperil Tempest or machinist ability. We have Rapid Fire. We have Bio Grenade. None of this works with her BSB. It's an okay Legend Materia. It just doesn't really have any particularly synergy with her, because the machinist abilities is not the part that makes Riku good. Ramza, be worth the dive if you have Shout plus USB. Yes, yeah, definitely. I'll go after Ramza now. Like I said, he didn't show up on S, but I believe he could be S. And if you request it, I will go over the character. And since we're in support anyway, this is a good time as any. Oh, but to finish on Riku, this is her good LM. Increases the stat duration, or the duration of stat buffs by 40%. Is excellent for her USB. So if you get her USB, you're going to want this. And then celerity abilities deal 15% more damage is probably pretty good too. Because at that, one of the things that makes Riku cool is that she can use her USB in Magicite dungeons as a buffer for the party. And then she can go and use Shooter, Machinist, Celerity, to hit a bunch of elements. And if you're going to be hitting Celerity, then the 15% more damage is very useful, because Celerity is definitely a damage dealing school. What do you need for Riku to be S? Just increase the duration of stat debuffs by 40% with her USB. Right. Yeah, what Shimura says. It is not the Legend Materia that make Riku good. She's kind of in Realms territory. None of these are super awesome for her. This is just cool with her USB because you don't have to cast it as often. So on to Ramza, who doesn't have LMR yet. Oh, we have support abilities deal 15% more damage. You know, again, whatever. But really, it's the duration of stat buffs by 40%. Awesome for Ramza, because he is buffer extraordinaire. And being able to use his USB and his Shout Soul Break together is a huge boon for some parties. So I have Riku, Super Soul Break, and Burst Soul Break. I need her USB for her to be on top. Yes. Her Super Soul Break and Burst Soul Break are very good. And Riku has... I mean, most of what makes Riku so good is her expansive ability pool. With just those two things, that just makes her a really good character. And especially against water bosses. Because that Imperil is going to help out teams a lot. So Riku could be brought to the Water Magicite, for instance, use her Burst Soul Break, and then probably use Shooter abilities for like Sapphire Shot to help out the team with not only dealing damage, but generating Soul Break to be able to cast her BSB again and increase that in Peril. That's her value there, where her USB gives her more expansive capability to help teams. Attack magic 30%, haste protect shell. Yes, that is exactly what her USB does. Oh, you're asking someone else if that sounds good. Yeah, so Ramza, Ramza, whatever. Increases duration of stat buffs by 40%. Awesome Legend Materia. Because Ramza buffs. This is like the debuff increase on Ferris and Setzer. It is what they do, it's what they concentrate on, and increasing them allows them to do it more. Next, let's take a look at healers. We got Rosa at the top. Rosa didn't even show up on my list. Did I only do this for physical? I remember not being too thrilled with Rosa's Legend Materia, which is a blessing and a curse. Which means you don't have to motor to get the best things at. Yeah, so we got white magic abilities to restore 15% more HP. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with moding her for this, because it makes her heal for more. Sure. Plus 1% mind for each white magic ability used as their LMR. Also known as LM3, up to 25%. This is bad. So there's no need if you're rolling on the Rosa and Edge banner, there's no need to get her LMR if you don't want it. You get the plus 10 mind from mastering the LMR. Whoopie-doo. So, not necessary. And 75% chance to remove poison, silence, blind, confused to the user after being afflicted with poison, silence, blind, or confused. Kinda neat. Just unpredictable. And it's the unpredictableness that makes me hate these so much. There's just that 25% chance that this Legend Materia would have done absolutely nothing at all. And I don't like that and probably would never open it for anybody that has one of these. I would much rather just using resistance accessory or affliction break. I guess if you just, I don't know, if you factor like force closing into the situation, you can be like, okay, I don't need to use status resistance, so I'll just get into this fight, and instead of using these resistance things, I'll just hope for the 75% chance. But I think this is her best Legend Materia. White abilities restore 15% more HP. She gets shafted as far as Legend Materia go, unfortunately. Or fortunately, if you don't want to have to mode up a healer. If you get Rosa's USB, you've got the healer of the century, because you just wrath that to oblivion and win. No, it does not overwrite the Rosa buff. So this would be a 75% chance if a resistance accessory wasn't able to stop a debuff getting through, then you'd get another chance to clear it. However, something to make note of is this is a chance to remove. It is not a chance to prevent. Which means if you are in the middle of casting something and you get inflicted with silence, it doesn't matter if you've got this Legend Materia and it worked or not. Your casting would be interrupted. Something to think about. Also with Confuse as well, since that would stop you from casting. So next on the healer list. Realm already went over. Vanille. We have, okay, definitely a dual character. 35% chance to dual cast white magic is huge, especially on Vanille, because she has such a wide variety of things she can do with white magic. And this is just awesome. Unique to her. I don't know of anyone else that has anything like this, other than Setzer, which is weird. 25% chance to cast an ability, which is a 2.0 multiplier, WHC type, that adds a defense and resistance minus 20% debuff after casting a white magic ability. I will look at Malik after I'm done with the healers, if you could remind me once I get there. So this is an awesome Legend Materia, and it is on her LMR. This is where we get weird. I know a lot of the LMRs that I suggested people go after in the past were on banners that made those characters good or were heavily themed on those characters. And Vanille, while no different, Vanille shows up on a not as good banner as the other banner in that event, and she shares the event with Lightning and the Syd Rains banner, which we both know is really, really good. And the second banner is considerably not as good. However, it has Vanille's USB, BSB. I believe it has USB, BSB, and LMR on it. So that's Vanille banner. However, it's not as all around as good as the Syd Rains, Lightning, and Nabat banner. Yes, Vanille can stack her command 1. And remember, this is on using any white magic ability. So Vanille can even heal and debuff the enemy at the same time at a 25% chance. And the dual cast is obviously awesome, so 2 and 3 means that Vanille is a motor and an LMR. Next, we have Ishtola. Ishtola shows up on Elm Dive only. When thank goodness Ishtola shows up on that, because there is no way, if you have her wall already, that you want to pull on Ishtola's banner. Because it's pretty bad. So we've got White Magic 15%, the normal, 35% chance to dual cast, awesome, and 30% chance to remove negative effects to the target after using a single target White Magic ability that restores HP on an ally. So you have a 30% chance to Ultra Cure with her, to any single target, like Ultra Cure. Now, it doesn't really work on Ultra Cure because that's going to remove negative effects anyway. But it's really more for her first burst command, the instant Kiraja. However, a 30% chance is so low that this is just practically unusable. And this is this LMR is so shit that it contributes to how bad Ishtola's banner is, because Ishtola's USB is terrible. Ishtola's strength is in her BSB and wall. This is just terrible. These are what you want. So Ishtola is a no pull but dive character. And we've done Uris. So since we've done Uris and all the rest of the ST dealers, I will go to Malik as requested. Attach Lightning, 35% chance to dual cast, and 10% Lightning. This means just like Papalimo, I probably like these better. Especially since Malik can attach Lightning with his USB, so it's not even... it's less useful. So Malik is not an LMR character. However, his LMR appears on a very good banner. So you don't complain if you get it, but it is one of the weaker items on the banner because it's not really what defines Malik. It's his USB plus BSB. Well, you don't donate monies for me to pull poor boy over here in a poor world. You're just preaching to the choir, my friend. I cannot do that. As much as I would like to. Let's see. Next, we're running on Knights. We'll do Knights. Short list, but an important one. Warrior of Light has an interesting set of legend materia, I believe. Yes, I like his legend materia. He shows up on, I would say, the legend materia dive only, because 3% attack for each hit taking up to 35% isn't terribly good. Don't really care about it that much. And we have reduces damage taken by holy attacks by 10%. Also, don't really care about that much. Really, his legend materia right here is what makes it worth it. Being able to have your beef bus start out the fight with Sentinel is really cool. Really, really cool. And Last Stand as well. Sure, I'll take it. Just in case, they do end up taking too much damage, even though the Sentinel buff gives him plus 200% defense at the start of a fight. That's pretty awesome. Love this legend materia. So, Warrior of Light is not an LMR guy, just a moat guy. And next on Knights, we have Celeste. Absolutely an LMR girl. Her LMR is 25% chance to dual cast Spellblades, right up her alley. And absolutely also a diver. Exploiting elemental weakness grants 50% more soul break points. This means you grant double soul break points for whenever you exploit weakness. That's awesome and gross. And part of what makes Celeste as good as she is. So, yep. Definitely want both of these. So, good thing that her LMR shows up on an incredible banner. So we dive her, and we want her to get her LMR. Next up on the list, Beatrix. Beatrix, I would actually put in LM dive only. I really like these two Legend Materia. Holy damage dealt by 10% isn't bad, but when you consider how much of a high damage knight she is, then it makes it feel better than it really is. Really, I mean, this is the Legend Materia that defines Beatrix. Just the ability to double cast anything since she's an Imperil Knight, but really especially the Guardbringers is just a really awesome Legend Materia. So I would put these two at our top because the 30% chance to cover physical attacks of target allies is cool, but remember that one of the defining characteristics of playing Beatrix is the Sentinel command on her Burst Soul Break, to give her that, not only the 200%, but to lure attacks to her to allow her to generate more Soul Break gauge and keep throwing out those Imperils. And if you have Sentinel up, then this doesn't apply. This Legend Materia doesn't actually do anything, since you're going to be taunting all physical attacks to yourself anyway. It is only useful in the period of the fight where you don't have Sentinel up yet, which I guess can be useful. It's just the 30%. Then it gets in the way of it becoming useful even then, because 30% is pretty damn low. It's nice. It's just when you're canceling out the complete effectiveness of your Legend Materia by using the thing that makes your character good, it's just confused and makes these the best two. So Beatrix would be a dive only, and there's no need to go after the Beatrix banner that is coming for Final Fantasy IX if you already have her Burst Soul Break and other things. Because if you have a Burst, you've already got what it takes to make Beatrix awesome. And last on the list, we have Agrius. Agrius, no such luck. Oh, never mind. Agrius doesn't have LMR. So that makes this an easy choice. And made easier by the fact that 30% chance to minor Imperil target after using a Knight ability and increases holy damage by 10% are both good Legend Materia. So no remorse or no regrets at using motes on Agrius to open her to full potential. And when she gets her LMR, it's probably going to be awesome because Agrius is awesome. See, if you notice a trend here, counting on the next Final Fantasy Tactics event to be a Ramza and Agrius event, at least a little bit. I'm hoping, I hope that it is a Ramza Agrius plus new characters, which would be Zalbag and Alma. That would be my ideal situation for a Final Fantasy Tactics event. Yeah, there is a lot of motes that need to be used. That is definitely true. I need to start hoarding better. And I believe that gets us to the end of the nights. So, last but not least, we've got physical. And this is a long one. What'd you get, Dragon? Alright, first on the list, we got Refia. Refia is another one of those dual use, because you definitely need a LMR. Just came out recently in Japan. Her LMR is 25% chance to dual cast fire abilities. Really nice that it's elemental, because that means she can make use of Shooter 5 fire abilities as well. Instead of just being limited to monk things, because her burst is monk, and she could use fires within. But fire means that she can become a shooter as well, if needed. USB for Ferris and Ramza. Ferris and Ramza, Yoichibo, and Mephilia Last Stand. Yep, you killed it. Congrats. Awesome pull. This is a really sick Legend Materia. Yeah, go for it, Draken. Um, a really, really great Legend Materia for Refia, because this basically means that once you get her Dance of Carnage going with her Burst Soul Break, you never stop critting with everything that you do. So that means she's going to have a permanent attack plus 50% buff for the entire fight after you use that burst. Really good Legend Materia. Not as good as the dual casts, of course. But that is awesome. So even though her LM1 isn't bad, because all she does is fire damage, really great Legend Materia for Refia. So needs to be a character you're going to want to invest fully in. Luckily, on the Refia USB banner is also the banner which has Refia's LMR on it, so that's good. And that banner also has Ingus's Earth Chain on it, another great relic, as well as Refia's Burst. And it also, for those of you who do not have it yet, Onion Knight's Burst is on it. So, good banner in the making. I have some misgivings about some of the other parts of the banner, but that's a really good top end. Yeah, because Refia needs a USB. She was extremely good with her Burst Soul Break, and she just becomes a belligerent fire monster with her USB. And next up, we have Edge. Again, thank goodness for themed banners. Edge's USB is what makes Edge good, and Edge's USB appears on the same banner as his LMR. And his LMR is very much necessary for the way Edge works, with the chance to give him physical blink. Because if he has physical blink, then that's how his chase mechanic works. So you want both the 35% chance to dual cast, and you want the 25% chance to physical blink when using Ninja. So you can keep the physical blink stacks going and allow his chase mechanic to start doing Megabucks damage. Yeah, FF3, that banner's that's a long way off. That's current in Japan right now. Yep, some of this is way down the line, yes. Edge is about 3 months out. Bart's, I'm pretty sure he also requires LMR. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. This is what gives him the 10% chance to dual cast abilities twice. And his 35% chance to dual cast. So Spellblade abilities do 15% more damage. That's cool. So you could theoretically run Bart's and he would still be an S tier capable character with just his Legend Materia. But god, do you want this LMR? You definitely want it. Yep, Final Fantasy VI with Celeste occurs in about a month. Very close. I don't know Lemonade. I originally, from the way it's said, if you dual cast twice, that means quadracast. But someone came in and was like, no, that just means you get a second proc on the dual cast, meaning you attack 3 times. But if I'm following the exact wording and the syntax, which is usually the smart way to go with Enliers, then the syntax means quadracast. If you dual cast twice, that is 4 casts. That's 2 times 2 equals 4. Thanks, Strider. Take it out. Or take it easy. So, I don't know this for sure. Regardless, triple casting would be awesome. Quadricasting even better. 6 potential casts? No, 4. Or is these mechanics, yeah, I guess 6 works, right? So you dual cast and then you quadricast? Well, see, that's the problem. Like, if I don't know. Well, no. If what you say is true, that dual cast is add one more cast. However, I mean, that's not what dual cast means. Dual cast means to do something twice. So if you do something twice, that would be 4. You dual cast Spellblade abilities twice, then do that twice. That is 4. So it really is. I would like to see this in action, but this is the way it is worded. It sounds like potentially 6. However, even if it is the worst case scenario, it is still good. Very good. Okay, so moving on. Shado. I believe he is another one that's dual. Oh no, he isn't. Shado gets a benefit over Edge. Though Shadow's USB occurs on the same banner as LMR, you don't have to keep chasing at least. That's nice to know. Attached Dark isn't that useful on him. When you have ninja abilities, 15% more damage is very good, and 35% chance to dual cast, very good. So you only need to moat him to get there. I guess what we're really discovering in this is that moats are very, very flippin' important. Well, the LMR are sometimes extremely necessary, but sometimes just a bonus, like in this case. Though sometimes it as a bonus isn't even that good. It's more like a full throttle and magicite thing, which I guess is a valid concern. Right, because of the chase mechanic. I believe you would chase... yeah. Bart's, whatever. Next up, Cloud. Well, we know we want his chance to dual cast. Luckily, you do not need Cloud's LMR to dual cast combat. This is the best part about his Legend Materia. 35% chance to quick cast 1 to the user after using a wind attack. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think that physical attacks deal 10% more damage is probably more useful than that. Yeah, but Edge doesn't have an OSB. Well, Quick Cast 1, an important thing to realize that Quick Cast reduces casting time by 50%, right? So it halves your cast time. However, that doesn't half or double the amount of damage per second that you're doing on a single turn, because this doesn't affect your ATB. So you're only really reducing your 0 to cast number by, I don't know. I'm not going to say 25% because I know ATB and cast time are not equal, but this is a 35% chance to give you a half cast time, where this just gives you flat 10% more damage under all scenarios. The only way that this is good is if you get lucky and you get these quick casts at the right times, so you can match up these quick casts with soul break casts, because it is much more beneficial to match up quick casts with higher cast time things. So these two. Cloud, thankfully, has these two, and this is very important because the banner that we get right now that defines Cloud as a character is the Cloud USB banner that is coming up in a few weeks. And it doesn't have LMR. LMR has not been released at that point. So his LMR obviously isn't on the banner. So if you wanted to go after his USB and then go after his LMR, which appears in the next Final Fantasy VII event on the second banner of that event, you don't have to if you don't want to. It's very important that this is not at all necessary, and in most cases, this is probably his better two of his Legend Materia. So Cloud's a motor, but not a spender. And Vincent. Did we do Vincent? We did Vincent. Squall. That is a good question, Lemon Lore. LMR are very rare occurrences. They haven't had much of a prominent place in festivals, and I have not seen a recurrence of an LMR on a Realm banner. That is an issue for these characters that require LMR. For them to reach their full potential, like these dual casters, like Bartz or Refi or something like that. Does his 4-hit CM1 count as separate wind attacks, all of the chance to proc? No. I don't believe. You may be right. I may have read that wrong. See, in this case, we have Zidane down here. It says 35% chance to quick cast 1 to the user after using a thief ability. This is different than using a wind attack. I'll need confirmation on that, honestly. Attack does usually apply to hits that have been made. So it could be a 35% chance per hit. However, that just seems overpowered to me. Where's the chance to double cast Cellbreak Materia? Just wait. The next Cloud banner will have that on it. And then it'll be promptly overtaken by other things in the game. See, I just worry here because it says thief ability, but I wonder if the different wording of this is because it's an elemental attack rather than an ability. Because we have celerity ability, wind attack. Is there any case that shows up on here where it says elemental ability? Ninja ability, monk, white magic ability, support ability, dancer ability, WHT ability. Okay, we found one for Cloud of Darkness. So I would think, based on the different wordings here, see, the dark damage after using a dark ability. This is referring to the dark element, not the darkness school. And it does say dark element ability here. So it makes me think that I may be wrong. And that this means using a wind attack. It may apply to every single attack. But I can't say for sure, and I don't want to say for sure. So something to think about. However, physical attacks increase damage, or 10% more damage, is very good. It's very good. And don't feel compelled to go after Cloud's LMR to make Cloud good, because all he needs is his USB. His BSB2 is just a small part of the equation. He doesn't even require his BSB2 to become as good as he is. He just needs his USB. Because he can use a lot of good abilities that take advantage of his USB, including the Spellblade 5 school and the Samurai 5 school. So, there's that. Right. 100% crit rate, and it breaks damage cap. So, pretty good. Next on the list, Vincent. Did Vincent, now Squall. Okay, Squall is definitely one of those characters where we're only looking at his first two. Spell-blade abilities deal 15% more damage, 35% chance to dual cast spell-blade abilities. This is his little package to increase his Burst Soul Break 2 damage in a nutshell. You want his Legend Materia. USB, yeah. Yeah, I know a lot of people are going super hard on it too. I can't berate them. I can't blame them. It is an awesome relic. And the banner itself isn't bad. So even though I am not pulling on it, I still say go for it. Because it's not a banner defined by a single relic. It is a good banner that has an awesome game breaker on top of it. However, know when to stop. Don't pull for one relic. If you do end up with a lot of the other good relics on the banner, I don't know, temper expectations from that point on. Okay, so Squall is definitely Moat Legend Materia. Vaughn. Jumping ahead in the realms here. Increases duration of stat debuffs by 30%. Good. So, I like all three of Vaughn's. Depending on how you want to run him. Because sometimes you're just going to want him as a damage dealer, say with his USB, if you're going to be spamming Thief's Revenge with him. But on here, if you want to increase his... This is always going to be what you want to use, because this is a 20% at minimum damage increase. Just flat damage increase for 20%. That's incredible. And Van does a hell of a lot of damage, and this increases his damage output even better, especially if you can hit the 30%. Vaughn plus Ferris together, gross duo right there. But from that point on, it's a choice. Do you want his stat debuffs by 30%? If you have Vaughn and you want to make him good, and you don't want to roll for his LMR, don't even worry about it, because physical attacks for 10% more damage is when equipping a dagger, which isn't that hard. A little bit of a detriment right here, the when equipping a dagger. So I'd probably say these are his two better ones. However, don't feel bad about just using these two. He's a good just strictly motor, but I like the 30% because him being able to layer all the debuffs that he can is definitely one of the better parts of Vaughn. Lightning next. Lightning is LMR, I'm betting. Yep, 25% chance of dual cast. You're going to want Lightning's LMR. You're going to want Lightning's LMR, and in almost all situations, you're going to want her LM too. The haste is somewhat useful, because it lets her get off to a quick start, even if you're going to be hasting first turn. It's also useful in fights where you're able to Mako Might and Dr. Mark's Teaching two people with bursts. That allows those two people to haste on the first turn, allows Lightning to haste on the first turn, and opens up your capabilities so you don't have to rely on everyone or having a haste Ga for someone to cast at the beginning of the fight. So that's kind of neat, but we're really, in all situations, Instacast 3 at the start of the fight is extremely good. This gets her rolling right off the bat. If you want to Life Siphon 3 times, go for it. Just do it. And get her USB and BSB2 rolling together, and you've got a person that can take over the entire team when it comes to DPS output. So Lightning was a 2 and a 3. And Noctis is also a 2 and a 3. Because Noctis's combat dual cast is on his LMR, which also appears on the awesome Noctis banner, so don't worry about that. And in the same breath as the other incredible celerity character, Lightning, Noctis's LM2 is also hastened Instacast 3 at the beginning of the battle. And again, Noctis is one of those people you want to roll multiple soul breaks on. And he does it a hell of a lot better than anybody else in the game, because of how many things of his are instacast. You immediately want to instacast three life siphons. Hopefully you get a dual cast life siphon mixed in there, and then you start the pain. Okay, that is the last character that appeared on the S tier of my lists. Is there anyone that would like another character taken a look at? A tier, yeah, A tier on the list. They're still very, very good characters. S tier are usually is just the tier that have things that make them special, really special. Like, just did lightning. Sketch, what are you trolling me for? Oh, you're just filling in the gap. I see. Yeah, Eiko, no dive. She will eventually, though. She will eventually, however, no Legends of Spheres. Shantot? Sure. Let's take a look at the Shantot. Gets her Legend Spheres, the Legend Sphere launch, pretty cool. Does not have an LMR because Final Fantasy XI doesn't get nice things. Shantoto gets a trance mode called Play Rough mode. Black attacks deal 10% more damage. A little typical, but let's take a look at this trance mode and see if it's any good. Magic plus 30%, defense and resistance minus 30%, cast speed times 3. So this works well with her USB that allows her to, like, fast cast witch abilities. But I'm going to say the same thing about this as I did on her USB when I evaluated her as a character. When only one character in the game can use these abilities, it's tough to make a case for them. However, it would be really powerful if you could stack all these buffs. I don't like her USB by itself, but if you can USB and trigger her play rougher mode, then you're probably onto something, because that's cast speed 3 plus half cast. Well, what is the cast? No, it's double cast. Her USB is double cast. But also uses 2 charges, so prepared to mega hone your witch abilities. I can't bring myself to like Shantoto. Does it change your sprite? Not that I know of. What character have elemental chain soul break like holy and fire? Well, there's a chain for every single element. I believe, other than poison. Does poison have one? But we can go. We can search for that right now, actually. Search chain. We have Warrior of Light with the Holy Chain, Garland with the Dark Chain, Ingus with the Earth Chain. Nope. Locke has the Fire Chain. No chainsaws, Edgar. Stop trying to butt your way into here. Zack has the Wind Chain. Renoa has the Ice Chain. Titus has the Water Chain, Shantoto Lightning Chain, and that's it. It does change a bit. Whole triple cast time on ninja speed, burst speed commands. Yes. Why Lemonade? Honestly, they should put it on Edgar. Because Edgar needs the help. Quistis doesn't. So Shantoto, yeah, if you want to dive into Shantoto, you'd definitely want to motor up for this. The play rough mode, that 3 times cast, is really nice. It is just a trance mode, but it does play nicely with a lot of the other stuff that she does. Being able to fast cast out witch abilities does probably make them worth honing and using just for her and going nuts. It's just it's a lot to dedicate into one character, but if it's as good as it sounds, then it's probably worth it. Just prepared to sack some orbs. Garland's 16 attacks. Are you kidding? It's not 16. If I remember correctly, it's 21 or 22. 22. So he starts the chain off at a very, very high number. So, as a conclusion to all of this, hold on, I'm going to take a screenshot of my little list here. I know it isn't as complete as I wanted it to be, but I'm going to post it and have you take a look at it and why I did this in the first place. So, Realm and Uris, and this is, when I did this, I didn't realize how, I don't know. I started evaluating banners before I got here, and I wanted Realm and Uris to be 2 of my best healers, and I'm really happy to find out that they are 2 characters that really don't even need to be dived. So that allows me to dedicate motes to other characters and then get to them, you know, afterwards, after I've got the people that I want to get. And so I think this is the most beneficial category to be in as far as light investment goes, because both Uris' good banner and Realm's good banner are the same banner as their LMR. So they're easy characters to invest in, the easiest. Compared to everybody else on this list, and that's nice. I listed the LM1 being if in the case that you did completely moat them, then they do have a good Legend Materia that you can always pick up to help out. But otherwise, that their LMR is what defines them. Talk you out of full diving snow? You know I don't have to do that. I saw the way you talked about snow when I was playing Final Fantasy 13. Honestly, I can't. Like, from a completely game game-related standpoint and not bringing personal feelings into it all, if you wanted Snow to be a good character, you'd have to dive him. He has some really nice legend materia. Cheerful hero, because that is something he certainly was. Just throughout the second part. Grants High Sentinel at the beginning of the battle is, as far as I know, the only instance of High Sentinel, and High Sentinel is awesome. So I'd want to dive him for this. Okay, so back to that. We'll get to the LM dive only, and the characters here are a lot easier to invest in than the characters on this list, because they don't need their LMR. So, say I'm pulling on the Shado, Umaro, and Setzer banner. If all I pull is the stuff I want, say, I don't know, Shado's USB, say I've got Ferris just fine, and while getting Setzer things would be cool, I don't really need Setzer things. I pull, and my first or second pull has Shadow's USB on it. I can quit. I can just quit on a banner that's stacked to the 9s with good stuff, like the Shado Setzer banner. I can just say, okay, no, because I don't need Shadow's LMR. And that's just something that it's a benefit that you don't get with these, because these all require a full dive plus their LMR. These are tough people to dive for, or tough people to invest in, because they require all the resources, and it would suck. It would suck having one of these characters like Lightning or Noctis, who are like defined by their LMR, or even Rafa, and not get it. It would kill me. And that's probably the big disappointment of LMR, is back when the game was based upon burst soul breaks, you'd be like, oh, I got a burst soul break. I've got this character, and they're going to be freaking awesome. Yeah, man. But no, it doesn't work that well anymore. They are going to be awesome with their USBs. I think all these characters on this list, other than Celis, are basically at where they are because of their USBs. Vinny, Van, Lightning, Vanille. Not Vanille. So, cross her off. She's definitely defined by her burst soul break. Noctis, not as much. I think his best relic is his BSB, but his USB is extremely good too, and Rafa too. So if you get those, you're going to have good characters. However, a lot of the characters like Noctis and Lightning, that dual cast Legend Materia is just, you're going to feel flaccid without it. It's the best word I can give. Like your hormones aren't working. And you have DNA to thank for that. Genius design if you're trying to fleece people for their cash. Who should we use Wisdom 5-star motes on first? Syd Rains or those other mages? That's up to you, Pillow. I can't tell you what characters work best for you, you know? I have the tier list, and I would probably adhere to my tier list, but all the rest of the people on this tier are just as good candidates. Hey, Shado. I mean, Syd Rains is a good candidate because his power legend materia is his 35% dual cast. And that's his LM2, and that's opened by motes. So, okay. How does Enlier's list how motes are distributed? So, motes open up legend spheres. Say we're gonna unlock the Syd Rains dual cast LMR. which is his LM2. So you want this. Thing is, I don't believe you can open it up immediately. Can you? Well, that's what we're talking about now. Legend materia are opened up by 5-star modes. You need to completely 4-star mode a character before you can open up the ability to use 5-star modes, and then you use the 5-star modes to open up the legend materia. Yes, Lemonade. So Syd Rains is Spirit and Wisdom. And it looks like it's a whole lot more limited than it was for Record Spheres. Say I want to do Fusion. Or let's pick another mage in the same category. Which is okay, Fusion. Mister. Fusion also... Oh, no, Wisdom Bravery. So, shit. So maybe we can help with some overlap, right? So we got Wisdom Bravery here. And we have Wisdom Spirit for Syd Rains, right? Yeah. So is there anyone we can, any mage, where we can find Spirit and something else? So there isn't a lot of overlap between Syd Rains and Fusion. Spirit and Wisdom. Spirit Wisdom. Spirit Bravery. Gladiolus. That is a person I would like to open up their legend materia. So... Gladiolus with his Spirit and Bravery is like the last part of the triumvirate with Syd Rains and Fusion, because that would be 2 instances of Spirit, 2 instances of Bravery, and 2 instances of Wisdom. Someone I really am going to want to open up their legend materia, Noctis. No, Noctis not as much, because while he does have a good LM2, he's definitely geared towards his LMR. So let's look for someone else. Someone really, really depends on their legend materia too. And try to pair them up with someone else that I would like. Celeste. That's a great one. I want this legend materia right here. And her LMR. So... let's go take a look at her and what her costs are. Dexterity, Vitality. Haven't seen either of those yet, except on Noctis has Dexterity. And it looks like they share. They're completely equal, so there's not a primary and a secondary. In all instances, it is matched. So that's nice. Ishtola, that is another good one. So we have Dexterity and Vitality here. Ishtola, who has a double cast White Magic on her LM2. Spirit and Wisdom. So that's great news for me. For someone I want to full dive Celeste. And using Ishtola with her is perfect because there's no overlap between Spirit and Wisdom on the two. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool for me, at least. Shado is lamenting in chat that, yes, there's a direct conflict between Ishtola and Syd Rains. So this is fun. Let's do it. Let's do it again. Bart's. Bart's is going to be a big one for me. Definitely want to get at least his LM2. And if I can't get his LMR, I'm going to want that LM1. So what do you got? Yes, if I get a Reversal Break too. Sure. If I don't, then I just adjust. I cry for a day and adjust. I usually get over bad pulls after a good night of sleep. Dex and Vitality. Which is a direct conflict with Celeste. Ouch. So it looks like I'm sunk on Dex and Vitality. Do I completely moat Celeste when I get her? If I get her Versatile Break 2. And then hope I've got enough again to do Bart's if and when I get his USB. It's a toughie. It's a toughie. Spirit and Wisdom for Mog, but Mog doesn't need his. He just needs that Bursal Break to be the hot ooey goodness. Realm, good thing that we don't need to get Realm's Legend Materia because Spirit and Wisdom. It's another character. Let's say I go for Vincent, Wisdom and Bravery. Oof. Yeah, so a really good thing that I suggest a lot of people do is look at the characters on the upcoming power banners that you want to pull for, like Syd Rains, Lightning, Celeste. Realm you don't really have to look at because you don't have to moat her. Cloud, and match up their moating and see if you can do so without a lot of overlap. Because if you do, remember that some of these characters rely on this moating. Like Cloud, for instance. His Legend Materia 2 is basically required reading. That's his dual cast combat Legend Materia. Oh, not Squall. God. Cloud. And Dex and Vitality. So you wouldn't want to go... You would want to try to stay away from characters, or at least understand that you're not going to be able to open up their Legend Materia before, you know, a fair amount of time goes by and get their Legend Materia 2s. However, let's say in Cloud and Lightning, their awesome banners occur in a very small amount of time. Here's one benefit to this, and why we did the whole looking at what defines the characters in their Legend Materia. We know Cloud and his LM2 are what get him there, right? Lightning, Cloud was Dex and Vit. Lightning is also Dex and Vit, but Lightning, her dual cast Lightning is her Legend Materia Relic. So while you look at these lists and you say, oh, I have Dexterity and Vitality on both of these characters, maybe I should skip Lightning because I won't be able to open her up that quickly because I'm going to have to concentrate on one and then move on to the other. That's not strictly required because you have Lightning's LMR is on her USB banner, and her LMR is what gives her dual cast Lightning, and that's the cool thing for her. So while she does have decent Legend Materia 2, it's not really required. Zack and Ludith. Sure, I'll take a look. So Zack, his power banner is coming up. It has a CSB on it. And then the Final Fantasy VII event after that has both his CSB and his BSB, which work really nicely together. We have Dex and Bravery for Zac. And Lunith is Dex and Vitality. So there is at least only a half overlap there. And let's go take a look at Lunith and Zac's Legend Materia to see if either one of them you can skip over their moded Legend Materia for the time being. With Lunith, we have... oh shit. We don't have an LMR. However, Lunith doesn't have any, like, power Legend Materia, so he's not really required to open this up. The haste and Instacast 3 is excellent, but it's not like one of those dual cast monsters. Zac, we have 50% chance to cast an ability that deals wind damage after using a celerity ability. So Zac is a weirdo that has a 50% chase chance on Legend Materia instead of a USB. But this is an LMR. So while you can moat these people for their haste and Instacast 3, each Zac and Lunith get them. It looks like the power is focused in the LMR, so that's okay. Can we talk about Squall? Sure. What would you like to talk about? Would you like me to look at his legend spheres and how they conflict with other people that you may or may not want to pull for? Squall is a Dex and Vitality. This is going to happen. This is a very common combination for what seems like the Spellblade Ravager type. Lightning, Cloud. Lunith. The main character types, I guess. It gets, like, hot updated often, Dragon. So I downloaded it once upon a time, but they update it, like, constantly, and it just became more of a burden to constantly download new ones rather than just drive it. Though I guess if you're offline a lot or you have a shaky connection, it can be better, yeah. Yes, anti-visual. Sorry, I guess I just assumed everyone was here because I did go over Squall's. And yes, Squall is definitely a motor. His Legend Materia 2 allows him to dual cast Spellblades, which is totally excellent with his BSB2, because his commands on his BSB2 are Spellblade, and being able to dual cast those is just super powered. Okay, sorry if we covered when I went to eat. How do we get 5-star moats, and what do I need to be focused on for my team moats wise? I can post the team mine. Multiplayer, no. Multiplayer is 4-star moats. Full throttle, when it is released, which I am assuming it will be released with Legend Materia launch, will be where we get 5-star moats. Someone asked, Will, sorry, a little far back there, but you said Rafa. Did you want Rafa's compared to anybody? Anybody else that you'd like to pull for or have pull for? She's a spirit and wisdom, so this is definitely a common one for mages. Will there be an event for 5-star moats like there was for job moats? I can't answer that. I do not know. I would hope so. I would assume so. However, there was probably some backlash. Full Throttle is a new difficulty. Look at current Torments. We have Torment 200, 250, and then there will be a Torment 300. The 300 will be Full Throttle. And Full Throttle is not only a new difficulty of Torment, it is a new fight type, where you start out the fight. You don't do any trash for Torment, but you start out on the boss at 300 difficulty, and all of your characters have 3 bars of Soul Break. And I believe you cannot generate any Soul Break past those 3 bars. So it is seriously Full Throttle. You go blazing fast right out the gate. Speedrun, yep. And you just try to win before you lose. Yeah, Will, it looks like Spirit and Wisdom for Rafa does directly conflict with Syd Rains. Full Throttle is very fun, and you're probably going to see me doing a lot of Full Throttle during streams, because Full Throttle is likely in many situations going to replace doing dailies for me. Because Torment, the problem with Torment right now is it's 60 stamina, and it takes about 15 to 25 minutes, depending on your luck, for 2 majors. And it is a very good stamina to orb rate. However, it just takes forever, and when you can unload 6 hours of stamina on a daily in just a few minutes, that is so great. And because it's just sometimes you just don't want to play. You don't want to play for 25 minute stretches. So that's nice. But what happens with Full Throttle is the increase in difficulty comes with an increase in orb drops. So Full Throttle has a chance to drop 3 majors. That's 3 majors for 60 stamina. And the benefit here is Full Throttle are very fast. So you can speed clear it for the 3 orbs, and then just be done with that stamina. 3 hours of stamina for 3 majors. That sounds very fun. Can you check Celeste, Beatrix, and Lightning? Will Full Throttle always be open? Just like Torment. Sometimes open, sometimes not. If there is a Full Throttle open and I like the orbs, even if I vaguely like the orbs, I'm probably going to do that over dailies. Celeste, Beatrix, and Lightning, sure. We have Celeste at Dex Invite. Spirit and Bravery, so no conflict between Beatrix and Celeste. And Lightning is Dex Invite, so direct conflict between Lightning and Celeste. However, like I said, Lightning's power materia is her LMR. So I would, at that point, because there's a dark conflict between Lightning and Celeste, and their banners are so close to each other, I wouldn't mind pulling on both of them, because I could just, I could full dive Celeste for her LM2, and then hope for her Lightning's LMR. And then after I'm able to, then go for Lightning. Titus, sure, fully. Since I didn't look at him, we have 35% chance to dual cast water. Obviously, he's a motor. This is less needed, so basically LM2 and the others are bonuses. His motes are probably Dex and Vitality, like most of the main characters. Dex and Bravery, ooh. At what rate do we get 5-star motes? Everyone tells me that it is a pain in the ass to get 5-star motes. And that even in Japan, so they have like a 5-month head start on us for 5-star motes. They've only been able to full dive at 5-star level about 4 to 5 people. So Choose wisely. Choose wisely. Yeah, you're right. I think we do get full throttle weekly event battles as well. Not not as sure about that as I am the Torment, but I do believe we get them for in the Realm dungeons too. What role do you think we should dive for first? I'm thinking healer. It depends on the healer. Like I mentioned, someone like Ishtola has a awesome double cast, and that is her LM2. So you're going to want to do some diving for Ishtola. But say you want to do Realm instead. Um, Her power isn't in her Legend Materia, so I wouldn't even bother. Motor up 4 stars if you want to make her stats and stuff good, but low priority for Realm because her Legend Materia aren't even that great. She doesn't get a dual cast. Her strength is her awesome burst soul break and her awesome USB. Both of those together are great. Arc. Well, actually, I go take a look at his Legend Materia first. Keep in mind, Arc just recently got his LMR in the currently airing Final Fantasy III dungeon or event in Japan right now. So this is a far off into the future. Arc, the Maiden of Water. Yeah, he doesn't get Legend Spheres open for a very long time. So, not something you have to worry about. However, I will go into his Legend Materia for you. Well, it's not a drop rate. It's like 4-star modes, where it's rewards almost exclusively. I guess 4-star modes have started dropping, but it's such a terrible clip that it's tough to consider them worth farming. However, if 5-star modes, because they're even more rare than 4-star, clearly the number is supposed to denote rarity. Then if those eventually became drops, then I'm sure a lot of people would devote a lot of stamina to them, even if the rewards weren't all that favorable. Just because there's no other way to do it, and Legend Materia are so powerful. Okay, so Arc, sorry, got distracted for a second. Chance to dual cast White Magic, that's good. Arc is kind of a weirdo. He's an offensive White Mage. His first burst is kind of bad, while his second burst is really offensive. It's completely offensive. It's not healing based at all, which makes his LMR not as bad because the reason why I dismiss a lot of Mind plus percentage Legend Materia is because healing doesn't scale off of Mind as well as damage does. Physical attacks scale off of attack well until you hit a cap. Magic, same thing for magic, and Mind doesn't scale that well, as well as the other two stats for dealing, for healing. However, that changes completely, and it becomes the same as the other stats when it comes to inflicting damage. So this could potentially be better. It's just that 1% is so low, and it'd take a long time to generate this over time. So even though Mind is much better for an offensive White Mage than it is for a healing White Mage, I still wouldn't consider this very good. But dual cast is always what you're looking for. It's really strong. I like to call people weirdos, okay? I'm a normie. Not by any stretch of anyone's imagination am I normal at all. Full throttles are difficulty 300, yes. Let me see if I can take a look at that for you. Let's look at the Final Fantasy VIII event. Let's take a look at the rewards. This is plus. Plus, 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 plus. Alt. U plus plus. Ruin. Ruin is the equivalent of Apocalypse. It's like 30 times Vitality emotes 5 star. And do we get any for Ruin? We don't. So it looks like we're looking at 30 5-star motes per event. Sure. Go ahead. It'll probably be pretty useful. I haven't had the time to go about that. How many 5-star motes will my character need for LM2? I believe it is a full progression. It's not a 6-line thing like Record Materia. So add them up. 100 of each. Oh, you want me to pull it up? So this isn't chronological from top to bottom. I don't even know what I'm looking at right now. Oh, Moat Tracker. Zenith of Crisis, we get 50, 38, 38. So it looks like Zenith of Crisis, for the person that did ask about that, and Rebirth looks like that event that we get your starter, your beginner 5-star motes. Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I'll just I'll go post it. It'll be in the game info channel. Sorry, someone had said that my tier list for knights, the D tier, was hilarious. I just had to see why because I forgot. And Angeal, nothing. Pain, many things poorly. No, this is totally on topic and very useful. So chronological from top to bottom. I'm guessing these are totals, but this is going to be our initial with the Zenith of Crisis and the Rebirth. So looks like Spirit's getting the shaft here with only 38 at the beginning, and then we don't get more until we get access to the full throttle for 5, which I don't know when that's going to be. So it starts out at 38, 76, 76, 102, 64. So we get 30 for completing CM full throttle. Okay. CM full throttle. Which I believe, I don't know if it's been said in chat yet, but CM full throttle is not the same as Syd Mission U++. Syd Mission full throttle is, I believe, you only need to use 3 characters of Realm Synergy, and you can bring in 2 outside characters. Correct me if I'm wrong. I do believe that is the mission for full throttle. It's fun. I mean, people are welcome to try to go full, but I'm pretty sure that's probably going to be whale territory. Or, you know, but that's fine because that's an optional thing. I'm guessing these are your personal notes because you want to get both of them up. Vincent sprites. It's good enough for now. It gives us a general idea of what we can expect, at what rate we're going to be generating these 5-star motes. So say... I'm going to write down a little list for a second of characters given ideal polls that I would want to invest in. So we have Celeste, Bartz, Ferris, Ishtola, I'll list Fusion, Realm, and Uris, even though I probably wouldn't consider them high priorities. Noctis. So from top to bottom, we're looking at Bartz and Ferris right now. Bartz is Dex Vitality, and Ferris, who is a Thief 5, doesn't use Dexterity motes. Who's at the helm of this ship? Celeste would be up next. Also Dex Vitality. Luckily, Celeste's event isn't now, when Bart's is 3 or 4 months down the line. Next would be... Well, we're not, after all, not going to list Realm. There's no reason to. What were Fusion's Legend Materia? 30% chance to grant Quick Cast 3. Not a high priority. Uris also not a high priority. Noctis, higher priority. Oops. And Ishtola. Ishtola, Spirit Wisdom. And finally, Noctis. Dex and Bravery. That is 3 occurrences of Dexterity, 3 occurrences of Vitality, 2 Bravery, 1 Spirit, 1 Wisdom. Okay. So, we have room to grow in the Spirit, Wisdom, and slightly in Bravery. So, who's another Spirit and Wisdom we can invest in? I mean, my 3 healers, ideally, will be Realm, Ishtola, and Uris, so... No need to do healers. Well, mages. Ah, Vincent. Vincent. I think I'm going to be pulling on the Vincent banner. What do you got for me, Vinny? Vinny bag of donuts. Wisdom and bravery. Okay, I can take that. So now we want to stay away from bravery. Now just spirit and wisdom. So who's a good spirit and wisdom person we can take? Maria, nope. Minwoo, absolutely not. Emperor, nope. Ark. Dash, no. I do like Dash, but I think we're done developing him. Does LMR unlock at 50 like Record Materia does? Yeah. You learn them as passive effects. Yeah, good question. I would assume it's a right-of-way thing, but I mean they've gated things behind level caps before. For some reason I don't know. I mean, why wouldn't you encourage someone to spend? It just doesn't make any sense. Mog is spirit and wisdom, and that's pretty cool. I don't know if he's going to be one of the people I want to concentrate on, though. Renoa? Oh, definitely. She's super S tier. Kujizzle. Who knows? Maybe Kuja will be it. I'll pull on the Extreme Fast banner with his OSB and BSB and be like, I'm happy. Kuja's my boy. Probably not, though. So let's continue. It's getting later. Vanille's got a shot. She does dual cast. Even though I won't have access to her LMR because it's on a banner I don't want to have anything to do with. Her LM2 is 35% chance of dual casts, which is pretty freaking good. So Vanille's an option. It's just I have 3 healers picked out right now. Do I need one more? Yeah, he meant LM slots for LMR. Yeah, I couldn't find anybody. They're really stuck out. Spirit looks like the bastard moat, at least in my eyes. Agrius. But that puts me at 4 people requiring bravery. I was looking for spirit and wisdom. Guess Syd Rains? Yeah, Syd Rains works. Sure. Okay. How did I skip him? Because he has a 35% dual cast on his LM2. That's pretty broken.